Shen Qingling, the ugly daughter of the Shen family, had been abused for many years when she suddenly realized that she was raised by her stepmother. Suddenly, there was an extra baby in my stomach. Fiancé, you're so ugly that you even gave me a green hat. I'm getting married. Shen Qingya said, Sister, I didn't expect you to be so unruly. In order to fulfill your engagement, I have to marry on your behalf. Shen Qingling rolled his white eyes up to the sky and said, A scumbag and a lowly woman are a perfect match. Lock them up and don't disturb them, okay? Years later, a woman with a hot figure, skin as curd as a fairy, led a cool little boy wearing sunglasses back to the capital, vowing to turn it upside down. Countless wealthy families and various forces flocked to hear this, almost trampling on the threshold of the Shen family. Qingling. Qingling. Marry me, I am considerate, gentle, and can cook. Qingling. Qingling. My heart and liver are precious. Qingling. Qingling. I love you. Your baby is my baby. Shen Lulu, who was small in stature, said, No, 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 no. My biological father knows everything. The old man rubbed his head and said, Who dares to covet my daughter? In law. Let him go 6 or 6. Bite him to death. Keywords of the novel. The stepmother raised a true daughter who brought the ball back without a pop-up window. The stepmother raised a true daughter who brought the ball back. Download the complete text. The stepmother raised a true daughter who brought the ball back. Read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. The true daughter raised by the stepmother is a playwright. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The true daughter raised by the stepmother is a playwright. Boom. A muffled thunder echoed through the sky, and lightning illuminated the night. On the silent night road, a thin and incredibly thin girl stumbled along the road carrying a large bag of freshly picked locust flowers. A muffled thunder frightened her, causing her to shiver and accelerate her pace. On a day in June, the child's face would change at any moment, without giving anyone time to rush home. After the thunderstorm, heavy rain poured down instantly. In no time, a lot of rainwater accumulated on the road. The drainage system here is not very good, and it quickly converges into a small river. At this moment, a car rushed by without any intention of slowing down, splashing up water and landing firmly on the girl's body. The girl casually wiped off the dirt on her face without any complaints, looking very numb. She walked step by step towards the direction of returning home. It seems that I have become accustomed to this kind of life. Suddenly, the girl stopped at the corner, feeling exhausted and panting heavily while covering her chest. But if you look closely, you will find that a black figure suddenly appears hidden in the dark night, even wearing a black headband, leaving only one pair of eyes. Standing in the shadow, he looks up and down at the girl. Boss. You look too miserable. You don't need me. The black figure looked around cautiously and made a motion of wiping his neck. The girl's numb face showed no change in expression, only a slight movement of her mouth. Don't act rashly. My current identity cannot be exposed yet. They don't know where they are right now. They are observing me from a distance. Please leave quickly and don't be discovered. The black figure responded with a response. Okay. Next second. Wait. The car that splashed all over my face just now, teach him a lesson. A small punishment and a big warning. The girl kept walking, her face unchanged, but her words didn't match her temperament at all. Okay, boss. The black figure disappeared without a trace in an instant. A murderous aura flashed through the girl's eyes as the rain covered them. She was careless. After completing the task, she left such a big bug that their group of dogs could smell her location. It's all because there have been too many recent events at home, which have caused a momentary distraction. Be careful again and again in the future. Along the way, the girl stumbled countless times due to a lack of strength before walking to her doorstep. At the moment the doorbell rang, the eyes behind the girl completely disappeared. The girl breathed a sigh of relief in secret. At that moment, the door opened. "It's Aunt Lou, the nanny at home." Aunt Lou exclaimed in surprise when she saw the young lady drenched in soup and covered in mud and water. "Ah! Mississippi! How could you be like this? Come on in. Come on in." At this moment, a middle-aged woman wearing a dark green cheapao and a coffee-colored shawl appeared from the second floor, with excellent maintenance. She frowned and slowly walked down. "Aunt Lou, what's the big fuss about? Qingya has already fallen asleep." Aunt Lou downstairs instantly fell silent. The middle-aged woman is Song-yu, the wife of the Shen family. She walked down the stairs step by step, tightened her cloak, and looked dissatisfied at Aunt Lou. "Hurry up and close the door. The rain is blowing in, and you see how dirty this floor is. It's an imported wooden floor, and if it's soaked, not everyone can afford it." Song-yu gave a blank glance at the dirty and filthy girl at the door. "Ah. All right, madam." Aunt Lou quickly responded and gently pulled the girl into the room. She gently closed the door and went to find a cloth to carefully wipe the floor. After the play was over, the girl put down the big bag of locust flowers and walked towards her room. Although it was already warm in June, the whole body was soaked in the evening and it was still quite cool. "Stop." Song-yu, who was sitting on the sofa, drank loudly and looked at the water footprints behind the girl with great disdain. "Shen Qingling. Where are the locust blossoms you were asked to pick? Qingya will wake up tomorrow to eat them. Mother, Huaihua is in that cloth bag. Didn't you see it? Ah. Mother, what's wrong with your eyes? Is there something wrong? Aunt Lou. Uncle Zhang. Hurry up and call a doctor for mother. Mother, she's blind." Shen Qingling seemed to be very concerned while shouting loudly, calling out everyone in the family. As there are more people, Song-yu cannot be too difficult for her to save face. This is experience. The middle-aged woman on the sofa had an angry expression on her well-maintained face, which could no longer maintain her understanding and dignified demeanor, revealing her originally malicious expression. "Shen Qingling. You're reckless." At this point, the living room had already gathered all the servants of the Shen family. A middle-aged man walked out of the master bedroom upstairs, who was the head of the Shen family, Shen Qingya. He looked down at the commotion downstairs, with Shen Qingling standing on the side, drenched all over, and Song-yu's face not looking good. In an instant, he understood what was going on. He quickly walked downstairs and hugged Song-yu, leading him onto the sofa. He lowered his head and gently comforted him, saying, "Madam, what's wrong with this? Who made you angry, madam?" "Humph. What are you saying? I can see clearly in Ling's eyes that there's no more mother like me." Song-yu pretended to wipe away her tears while crying and continued to cry. "I just cared about her a few words earlier, and she actually scolded me." "What? How could such a thing happen?" Shen Qingya's face became stern as he turned to glare at Shen Qingling. "Qingling. Come and apologize to your mother." The latter, on the other hand, looks like a frightened little rabbit, with tears streaming down his face. However, if this hanging and crying look were on the face of a beautiful girl, it would definitely cause countless people's heartache. But the girl's face was covered in a large burn scar, which was extremely ugly without any exaggeration. Shen Qingya, who originally had some feelings for Shen Qingling, couldn't help but feel a little disgusted on his face. "Although I have been looking at this face for over a decade, I haven't gotten used to it. Father's love, a bit, but not much. Father, I was worried about my mother. I didn't." Shen Qingling sobbed and said out of breath. For so many years, she has dodged countless scoldings by pretending to be a silly little white flower. Her acting skills are excellent, and tears come down her face. Hollywood stars don't even know her. The servants of the Shen family who watched her grow up from a young age were all filled with heartache. Butler Zhang Shushi couldn't bear to see it and bravely took a step forward. "Master, madam, Miss must have no ill intentions. For the sake of her picking locust flowers for Miss Air in the rain, let her hurry up and change into clean clothes." Lao Zhang. Can I still slander her? Song Yu stopped crying and pretended not to, her eyes fixed on Manager Zhang like a venomous tongue. At this moment, only a splash was heard. Shen Qingling fell to the ground in response. The servants of the Shen family immediately approached with concern. Aunt Lu touched Shen Qingling's forehead and said to the two people on the sofa behind her. "Sir, madam, Miss has fainted from a fever." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Disguising Oneself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Disguising oneself. Shen Qingya sat on the sofa and turned to see Shen Qingling lying on the ground. He frowned and quickly waved to the servant. "Lift Qingling upstairs and invite her." Shen Qingya was about to ask for a doctor, but Song Yu glared at him and immediately changed his mind. "Take some fever-reducing medicine for Qingling and let her sleep well." "All right. Madam, don't be angry, Qingling definitely didn't mean to." "Don't be angry, what should you do if you get angry and damage your body?" "I will feel sorry for you." Shen Qingling was carried back to the furthest corner room on the second floor by several servants. Aunt Lu kindly changed her into clean clothes, fed her cold medicine and fever-reducing medicine, and was then called away by Song Yu. The girl lying unconscious in bed slowly opened her eyes. A pair of translucent eyes were moist, and in the blink of an eye, their long eyelashes covered a hint of mockery. She carefully listened to the sound outside the room and after confirming that there was no one, she sat up for a moment. Rubbing his left shoulder and buttocks, he spat softly. "Damn it. Pretending to faint is also a technical job. You need to be more careful next time you fall." Shen Qingling rubbed her shoulders and got out of bed, muttering to herself. "It's really strange. The little green tea on TV always pretends to be unconscious, but I never saw her fall to death. This dizziness caused my bones to crack." Shen Qingling took out a modified computer from the drawer, which happened to not shut down. There was also a masterpiece of Green Tea and Little White Flower Battle on it. Shen Qingling pressed the play button and continued to advance on the unfinished part from last time. The TV happened to show the scene of Green Tea pretending to be fainted by Little White Flower. Damn it. No wonder even the Green Tea can't fall to death. They all fell into the male lead's arms. It's really disgusting. Shen Qingling angrily closed the computer. The mirror behind the computer reflected her angry and speechless expression at this moment. Shen Qingling slowly picked up the mirror and looked at her scarred and ugly self in it. Reaching out and slowly caressing his cheeks, the startling sensation emanating from his fingertips was not fake. According to her father, she was mischievous when she was a child and spilled the hot water in the pot, which she cooked herself. However, she had no memory of it at that time. After all, she was too young. Shen Qingling sighed, put down the mirror, and reopened the computer. Stretching out slender and fair fingers, typing on the keyboard. She needs to be careless and wipe her buttocks. By the way, give those people some color to see. She has been fast since elementary school. A computer is one of the things that can be quickly mastered by just getting started and practicing a few times. However, since she became sensible, she realized that her ability did not please her father and mother. On the contrary, every time she learns faster than Shen Qingya, she will still receive endless scolding from her father and mother. So gradually, she hit her super high intelligence. No matter what you do, pretend to be foolish and obedient. Gradually, her life at home became easier. In the past few years, she also relied on her exceptional hacking skills to form her own team. As long as you can afford the commission, the United Nations firewall can also be breached by you. However, she still had a question in her heart why her father and mother preferred her younger sister more. Both of them are daughters, why do they constantly hit and curse at her, and even wish to praise Shen Qingya with all the good things? A few days ago, Shen Shihai and Song Yu had an argument, and she only found out when she happened to hear it. Song Yu turned out not to be her biological mother. Her biological mother passed away shortly after giving birth to her. Song Yu walked into the Shen family door with Shen Qingya, who was born a few days later than her, less than half a year after his mother's death. That is to say, the third party successfully took over. The saying goes that if there is a stepmother, there is a stepfather. No wonder, no wonder. Shen Qingling did not experience significant emotional fluctuations regarding this. Her heart has long cooled from the beating and scolding of her father and mother, no, stepmother the next day. Shen Qingling was awakened by the noisy sound. She opened the door and walked downstairs to see Song Yu sitting on the sofa, commanding his servants to do their work. Here. Here. And here. Clean up everything for me. No dust at all. Oh, why are you working so poorly? If I find out again, get out of here. That painting is hanging crooked, can't you see it blindly? Remember to bring out the top quality biluakan that the master brought back last time to entertain your esteemed guests. Be more clever for me in the future. If you collide with your esteemed guests, roll up your bedding and leave immediately. Madam, what do you think of me wearing this outfit? Shen Shihai walked down from the cloakroom upstairs in his most expensive suit. Shen Shihai, who was supposed to go to work at this time, also appeared at home. The two of them only then saw Shen Qingling standing in the living room. Qingling, have your fever subsided? Yesterday was my fault, so today you can rest upstairs. You don't need to come down to work anymore. Let Aunt Lu bring you the food when the time comes. Song Yu changed his malicious expression from yesterday and took Shen Qingling's hand with great concern, smiling and pushing her upstairs to rest. Even Shen Shihai on the side joined in. Qingling, you see how much your mother cares for you. Hurry up and rest. If there's nothing else, don't come out. Goodbye, the wind is burning again. Shen Qingling pursed her lips, pretending not to know their purpose, and obediently returned to the room. At the moment she entered the door, she heard Shen Qingya's very joyful and cheerful voice. Dad! Mom! Look at me in this dress and see if Brother Shuning looks good. Shen Qingling closed the door, opened the computer, put on headphones, and continued to watch the drama. There's no need to go downstairs to deal with that vicious woman, she's happy and idle. Whoever he came today has nothing to do with her. Downstairs. Shen Qingya changed countless clothes before finally choosing the one she was most satisfied with. The three members of the Shen family sat on the sofa, ready to go. People who don't know thought they were about to receive the president of the country. They agreed on a time of 10 o'clock in the morning, but by 10:15, no one had come yet. Shen Shihai frowned and glanced at his watch. Madam, did the Bai family schedule today? Could it be that you misread the time? No, I've watched it many times, it's today. Song Yu spoke confidently, feeling very uneasy and afraid that the other party wouldn't come. Brother Shuning must have been delayed by something. Let's wait a little longer, he might come in a little while. Shen Qingya pinched the hem of her skirt, swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and stared nervously at the door. Just as the three of them thought the other person wouldn't come today, the doorbell suddenly rang. Shen Qingya suddenly stood up and was about to open the door. But Song Yu pulled him back and whispered, "Calm down, a bit of a lady from a wealthy family." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Engagement with the Bai family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Engagement with the Bai family. Shen Qingya nodded, tidied up her skirt and sat back on the sofa. But the expectation in her eyes was clearly visible at a glance. Subsequently, Song Yu gestured with her eyes to the butler at the door, Uncle Zhang, to open the door. Upon receiving the signal, Uncle Zhang hurriedly stepped forward and opened the door, only to see two people standing outside. A young man with fair complexion, handsome features, and a wild and unrestrained smile on his face. The other is the middle-aged man standing behind the young man with a gift. It seems that he is probably under the young man's command. The three people on the sofa smiled and greeted warmly when they saw the door open. Shuning. Long time no see. Shen Qingya enthusiastically reached out his hand. The young man at the door nodded with a smile, shook hands with Shen Qingya lightly, and then let go. Uncle, Auntie, long time no see. I just had something to attend to at the company and came late. Please forgive me, Auntie. It's okay, work is important. Shuning, come and sit down, don't stand. Shen Qingya warmly greeted him. A few people sat on the sofa, and the servant behind them immediately stepped forward to pour tea. With a very dignified smile, Song Yu spoke up. Shuning, have some tea. This is the top-quality biluakan that your uncle entrusted someone to bring back from outside. I usually don't want to take it out to drink. Bai Shuning nodded politely, picked up the teacup and took a light sip, pursed her lips secretly, but looked up with a smile. Well, good tea. Brother Shuning, we haven't seen each other for many years. Shen Qingya was very excited when she saw Bai Shuning, and finally interjected, eagerly speaking up. Bai Shuning put down her teacup and then noticed Shen Qingya sitting beside her. A pink gauze skirt accentuates a woman's delicate figure. Bai Shuning was momentarily stunned, then put on his very polite smile again. This is Qingya's younger sister, isn't she? She's really a girl who has undergone 18 transformations. The longer she grows, the more beautiful she becomes. No way, Brother Shuning is joking, he's so embarrassed. Shen Qingya believes that the other party is sincerely praising her, but she feels a bit ethereal at this moment. She firmly remembers her mother's words. The Bai family is a wealthy family in the capital city, while in the capital city where various forces gather, their Shen family can at most be considered a small family that cannot be smaller. She must seize the opportunity and establish a relationship with the Bai family. Actually, without my mother's words, she would also do the same. Bai Shuning is a man that many people in the Beijing socialite circle want to marry. This person not only has money, but also looks beautiful. He has always been generous and considerate towards his previous girlfriends. By the way, where's Sister Qingling? Why isn't she here? Bai Shuning looked around and asked with some confusion. Sister was caught in the rain yesterday, had a slight fever, was feeling unwell, had a temper, and didn't want to come down to see guests. Brother Shuning, please don't be angry with her sister. Shen Qingya described Shen Qingling as an ignorant woman after some tea talk. Bai Shuning smiled and spoke. Since Sister Qingling is not feeling well, let her rest well. It's understandable. Bai Shuning looked at Shen Qingya's nonchalant expression, lowered her eyes, sneered, and took another sip of tea. She restrained the contempt in her eyes and turned to Shen Qingya, speaking seriously. Uncle, I came today to discuss the engagement that the Bai family made with the Shen family a long time ago. Well, I know, I already mentioned it on the phone earlier, but... Shen Qingya pondered for a moment before continuing. My virtuous nephew is so excellent, but my family's Qingling has a damaged appearance. I'm afraid she doesn't deserve Bai Xiao. In fact, earlier years, with the intentional disclosure of Song Yu and Shen Qingya, everyone in the capital had long known that the Miss Shen of the Shen family had an ugly appearance and a foolish personality. Bai Shuning actually heard about these things a long time ago, and he didn't want to come either. However, he didn't expect his grandfather to threaten him with inheritance rights. He had no choice but to come to the appointment. Bai Shuning sighed and was just about to speak. I heard Song Yu on the side eagerly speak. My dear nephew, that's what I think. Since the Bai and Shen families have a marriage agreement, the Shen family actually has more than just Qingling as their daughter. Whether it's in terms of appearance, character, music, chess, calligraphy, or painting, my elegant family is much better than Qingling. Why not? Song Yu observed Bai Shuning's expression and saw that he had no dissatisfaction before continuing to speak. How about a virtuous nephew fulfilling his engagement with my family, Qingya? Bai Shuning glanced at Shen Qingya, who was shy and waiting to be released, with a hint of playfulness in her eyes. But the next second, he frowned and shook his head. Uncle and Aunt, Qingya is so excellent. In fact, I have admired Qingya for a long time, but my grandfather does not agree. He must let me marry Qingling, and I have no choice. Shen Qingya and Song Yu exchanged a glance. I didn't expect the old man from the Bai family to be so rigid. On the side, Shen Qingya heard that Shuning's brother had started to admire her at some point, but was stopped by someone. She was extremely anxious and wanted to say something, but was stopped by Song Yu and suppressed with a glance. After Bai Shuning left, Shen Qingya urgently asked her mother Song Yu. Mom, what should I do? Brother Shuning clearly has an interest in me. He doesn't even like Shen Qingling. She looks like a ghost, why did she steal my man? Song Yu looked at Shen Qingya with a worried expression on her face. Qingya, what should we do about this? Shen Qingya frowned and pondered for a moment. The old man of the Bai family is notorious for his stubbornness. No one can change what he has set. He can only prepare and let Qingling marry him. Shen Qingya actually doesn't care which daughter he marries into the Bai family. No matter which daughter gets married, the Shen family will also become the in-laws of the Bai family. It was only Song Yu who blew a breeze in his ear every night to appease her that he agreed to marry Qingya. After Shen Qingya finished speaking, he packed up and went to the company. Leave Song Yu and Shen Qingya sitting in the living room. Mom. Dad is too biased. Please help me come up with some ideas. Upon hearing Shen Qingya's words, Shen Qingya was so anxious that she almost burst into tears. She could only keep shaking her mother's arm, urging her mother to give her an idea. She knew that from childhood to adulthood, as long as it was what she wanted, her mother would help her get it. Song Yu beside her didn't speak, slowly squinting her eyes. She didn't know what was coming to her mind, and a hint of calculation appeared on her face. She patted Shen Qingya's hand. Don't worry, daughter. I will definitely let you marry into the Bai family. The next day, Song Yu and Shen Qingya went out shopping. Shen Qingling learned from Aunt Lu that yesterday it was the eldest son of the Bai family who came to propose marriage. Surprisingly, the object of the proposal was still her. But she didn't panic at all when she heard the news. Because she knew that Song Yugen would not have married her into the Bai family, and for her, the Bai family was a precious treasure. Such a good opportunity will definitely be left for her own precious daughter. Moreover, she is not even interested in this kind of marriage, such as being arranged as a child's marriage. A stranger, no matter how handsome or wealthy she is, cannot marry her off in a daze. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. The Sudden Care of the Stepmother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Sudden Care of the Stepmother at Night. Shen Qingling drank a glass of milk that Aunt Lu had secretly prepared for her as usual, and then went to bed. But this night I didn't sleep soundly in her dream. Shen Qingling only felt a muscular man suddenly pressing against her. A special aroma suddenly penetrated her nostrils. Make her feel soft all over, wanting to resist but unable to move. Just as I was about to break free from my final constraints in my dream. Ah! Mississippi, Mississippi, wake up. Shen Qingling was sweating profusely and suddenly opened his eyes to sit up. She slowly turned her head. Looking at the familiar room, Aunt Lu, with a worried expression on her face, suddenly lifted the blanket and glanced at herself dressed neatly, without any scars, before finally taking a long sigh of relief. "It's okay, it's all just a dream." It seems that the small yellow web that she accidentally entered yesterday left a shadow on her pure soul. Unexpectedly, she even had a spring dream without any success. Mississippi, Mississippi. Aunt Lu looked at Shen Qingling, who was laughing and daydreaming, and couldn't help but reach out and shake her hand in front of her. "Miss, today is really strange. She has never slept in, what's going on today? Can't it be the last time I had a fever that made me foolish?" Just as Aunt Lu anxiously reached out and placed her hand on Shen Qingling's head to test the temperature. Shen Qingling suddenly regained consciousness and awkwardly avoided Aunt Lu's hand. "Aunt Lu, I'm fine." "Miss, you don't look like you're okay now. Your face is so red." Aunt Lu looked worried. Shen Qingling awkwardly covered her face and coughed twice as she thought of the unhealthy images in her mind just now. "No, maybe it's too hot inside." Aunt Lu felt it, and Mrs. Room was located in the corner of the second floor. Due to the lack of direct sunlight, it was dark and somewhat damp all year round. Although it's already June, the nights and mornings are still a bit chilly. Aunt Lu looked at Shen Qingling in confusion, but did not continue to ask further questions. "Miss, lunch will be ready in a while. Remember to come down and have it," Aunt Lu said. "Lunch? Is it already so late?" Shen Qingling was surprised and picked up the nearby alarm clock. It was indeed 11 o'clock in the morning. So she immediately lifted the blanket and got out of bed to wash up. "But just as I got out of bed, I felt my legs feeling a bit sore and weak. Almost fell to the ground." Shen Qingling frowned and stood up by the bed. I spat inwardly. Damn it. Spring dreams are traceless. In the future, we should still watch fewer websites like that. When Shen Qingling finished washing up and went downstairs, Song Yu and Shen Qingya have already sat at the table and started eating. "Qingling, come on, it's time for dinner." Song Yu's rare enthusiasm for her maid Shen Qingling couldn't help but frown. What bad intentions does this woman have? Shen Qingling remained calm and sat in the corner as usual, quietly preparing to eat. "Qingling, try this. This is the chicken soup I specifically instructed the kitchen to make for you." Song Yu stood up and took the initiative to scoop a large bowl of chicken soup for Shen Qingling, and even put a chicken leg into her bowl. Shen Qingling was startled and thought to himself that there might be some medicine added to this chicken soup. She slowly reached out to take the chicken soup handed over by Song Yu and spoke with a complex expression. "Thank you, Mother." "Mom. What kind of chicken legs does she deserve? I want to eat them too." Shen Qingya beside her glared at Shen Qingling with great dissatisfaction, and then proudly handed the bowl to Song Yu. Okay, you also want to eat chicken legs, here's one more." Then, Song Yu picked out another chicken leg from the clay pot and placed it in Shen Qingya's bowl. Shen Qingling saw Shen Qingya looking at her provocatively, devouring the meat. That's when I finally let my heart go. This chicken leg should not be poisonous. Then he lowered his head, sipping chicken soup and eating chicken legs. Thinking to himself, what the hell is Song Yu up to? After thinking for a while without understanding, I decided not to think anymore. Let's face it and break it down. Over the years, she has also become accustomed to it. But this kind of life won't last long either. She has earned enough money now and bought herself a house in the suburbs. The savings in hand can also fully support oneself. After a while, I found an opportunity to propose to my father that I wanted to move out. They should be very happy that they didn't get in their way. Qingling, don't just drink chicken soup. Eat some brown sugar lotus seed soup, it's good for your health, especially for women. Song Yu emphasized the tone on the last word, giving Shen Qingling a chilling feeling. Song Yu didn't know what to draw at the dinner table today, so she kept picking up vegetables for her. I don't know why the kitchen today is all about nourishing things. All of this is too bizarre. Shen Qingling finished the meal with confusion. After greeting Song Yu, he left the door. After leaving, Shen Qingya immediately walked over to Song Yu and complained. Mom! Why are you suddenly being so good to that little slut? You never give me so much food on a regular basis. Shen Qingya's face was full of dissatisfaction and doubt. Song Yu smiled meaningfully. Qingya, only when she eats well can her body be better and easier. What? What's easier? Shen Qingya didn't know what medicine her mother was selling in her gourd. Inquire in confusion. Qingya, wait and see. Whatever you like, Mom will help you get it. Song Yu stared straight at the direction where Shen Qingling was leaving, with a faint light in his eyes. Shen Qingya couldn't help but shudder and didn't continue to ask. Anyway, her mother never harms her. From childhood to adulthood, her mother has always been satisfied with anything she likes. Whether that thing belongs to Shen Qingling or someone else. Thinking of this, Shen Qingya no longer hesitated. After saying hello to Song Yu, he went out to go shopping with his little sisters. Shen Qingya has just left. The phone on the coffee table suddenly rang. Song Yu picked it up and looked at it with a cold expression. Turning to see the maid cleaning in the living room, he immediately picked up his phone and went back to the bedroom. Carefully locking the door, I slowly pressed to answer. Hello. Are you sure you can succeed with just one attempt? Okay, if successful, I will give you 500,000 as compensation. What? No need. So, why are you helping me? Hey. 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 Song Yu heard a beep coming from the other end of the phone. Unexpectedly, the other party suddenly hung up on the phone. When she called again, she found a prompt on the other end of the phone. Hello, the user you dialed is an empty number. Song Yu stared blankly at the number on her phone. This is exactly the number, that's right. How could we suddenly lose contact? But Song Yu didn't hesitate anymore. He could achieve his goals without spending money. Why not do it? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. What? Pregnant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. What? Pregnant. 1 month later. Shen Qingling had breakfast and was ready to go out. Today is the time for her to finish decorating and closing the house she bought. Thinking of my carefree life in the future, my steps have become a bit light and agile. She jumped step by step to the door. Just as she was about to open it and go out, her lower abdomen suddenly hurt. The intense pain made her suddenly faint. The butler Zhang, who was closest to the door, immediately ran over with concern to help Shen Qingling, who had fallen unconscious on the ground, and shouted her name. For the past month, Song Yu, who had been secretly observing Shen Qingling, was delighted to see this. Immediately, he excitedly ordered butler Zhang to prepare a car and take Shen Qingling to the hospital. And go to the best hospital in Beijing. Manager Zhang ignored his doubts and immediately responded, running out to prepare the car. Beijing First Hospital. After a thorough examination of Shen Qingling by the doctor. Let the following Song Yu and others wait for the result. Not long after the doctor left, Shen Qingling lay on the hospital bed and slowly woke up. Opening my eyes, I saw the pristine white walls, the pristine blanket, and a pungent smell of disinfectant lingering in my nose. Where am I? Song Yu approached and looked down at Shen Qingling, speaking with a hint of inexplicable laughter. You're in the hospital, you just fainted. You. The hospital that brought me here. Shen Qingling was surprised and forgot to disguise for a moment. It's no longer the same submissive attitude as before. My eyes are filled with doubts and precautions. Song Yu, who had been secretly happy all along, did not notice this. She casually pulled a chair and sat facing the open ward door. Then, as if she didn't know what she was waiting for, she casually spoke. "As your mother, you have fainted. What's so strange about me sending you to the hospital?" Just as Shen Qingling was about to ask something, Song Yu suddenly bounced up from the chair and ran towards the direction of the door. "Bai Xiao. Why are you here? What a coincidence." Bai Shuning, who passed by the door, saw Song Yu and immediately put on a polite smile on her face. "Auntie, Qingya said she's feeling a bit uncomfortable. Coincidentally, I'm fine today, so I'll accompany her to the hospital to take a look." "Oh, so that's it, what about elegance?" The smile on Song Yu's face never stopped. She looked around and didn't see Shen Qingya, so she asked. "Qingya has gone in for an examination and will come out soon. However, Auntie, why are you here? Is there anything uncomfortable about it?" Bai Shuning looked at Song Yu with a very concerned tone and said, before Song Yu could answer, she immediately said again. "Auntie, where are you feeling unwell? You can tell me. This hospital was established with investment from our Bai family, and I will definitely help you find the best doctor to treat you." Upon hearing this, Song Yu waved her hand excitedly. "Shuning, no need. You're well-intentioned and understands. Aunt Qingling is feeling a bit uncomfortable when she comes today, so I'll accompany her." Song Yu leaned over to look at Shen Qingling on the hospital bed, as if hesitating to speak. "Qingling, this child suddenly fainted just now. Sigh, I don't know what's going on." Guided by Song Yu's intentional gaze, Bai Shuning happened to see the half-face of Shen Qingling on the hospital bed, which was somewhat terrifying due to burns. I couldn't help but frown. At this moment, the doctor walked over, holding the examination form in his hand, looked at Bai Shuning standing at the door, respectfully greeted her, and then looked at Song Yu. "You are Shen Qingling's mother, aren't you?" Song Yu nodded and asked anxiously, "What's wrong with my daughter Qingling?" The doctor smiled and said, "Don't worry, come with me and let me know." The doctor advanced the ward. Song Yu followed behind the doctor. Bai Shuning, who originally wanted to leave, was suddenly stopped by Shen Qingya, who happened to come out of the hospital. "Brother Shuning, what's going on, sister? Let's go in and take a look together." Bai Shuning curled her lips and reluctantly followed Shen Qingya into the hospital room. "Doctor, what's wrong with my daughter Qingling? Can you tell me now?" Song Yu had a mournful face, with a look of eagerness and heartache. Those who didn't know really thought Shen Qingling lying on the hospital bed was her biological daughter. "Madam, congratulations. You are about to become a grandmother." What? 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 At the same time, three voices exclaimed in shock in unison. One is Shen Qingya, who followed in, the other is Shen Qingling on the hospital bed, and the last one is Bai Shuning. "Doctor, you checked wrong. I don't have a boyfriend yet." Shen Qingling sat up with excitement and looked at the doctor incredulously. "That's right. Your test results indicate that you are pregnant." When the doctor heard Shen Qingling say she didn't have a boyfriend, he immediately cast a somewhat contemptuous look at her. He has seen many women like this. Not cherishing one's own body, sneaking out and fooling around with men. As a result, I accidentally got caught. "Doctor. Please double-check, is sister really pregnant?" Shen Qingya glanced at Bai Shuning's pale face and asked again, adding fuel to the fire. "That's right, I'm indeed pregnant, it's been a month already." The doctor who originally wanted to get angry saw Bai Xiao standing aside, so he patiently looked at the examination form and said again. After finishing speaking, he nodded slightly and walked out of the ward. "Shen Qingling. You're such a fickle woman. You're actually looking for wild men outside." Upon seeing the doctor leave, Bai Shuning's veins immediately swelled and he angrily pointed at Shen Qingling's nose, cursing. "You expect me, the young master of the Bai family, to marry you with such shabby shoes? It's just a dream. Shen Qingling was stunned at the moment when the doctor said she was pregnant. How could she get pregnant? She has been single since birth. How could you get pregnant without even touching a man's hand? Bai Shuning became even more angry when she saw that Shen Qingling had no response to his words, divorce. I want to divorce. My young master from the Bai family will never suffer this humiliation. Watching the battle from the side, Song Yu immediately gave Shen Qingya a glance, gesturing for her to come forward and comfort her. Shen Qingya was very obedient and immediately wrapped her arms around Bai Shuning. She was wearing a very slim-fitting strapless long dress today. She hugged Bai Shuning's arm and rubbed against it intentionally or unintentionally, speaking in a very soft voice. Brother Shuning. Don't be angry. Sister must have been confused for a while. She was deceived by another man. However, you still have me. I will definitely not let you down. In Shen Qingya's extremely provocative comfort, Bai Shuning's angry emotions were slowly calmed. Then he greeted Song Yu and left the ward with Shen Qingya. He urgently needs an outlet, isn't there a suitable person around him? Bai Shuning has always been open to women who come to deliver her door. Not to mention this pretty woman. Song Yu looked at Shen Qingling as her goal had been achieved, sneered, and left the hospital. Shen Qingling touched her lower abdomen, unable to believe that she was about to step over to find a man, fall in love, get married, and become a mother. This is to his mother. The most crucial thing is. So, what kind of taste is that? She hasn't tasted it yet. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Is there no problem with monitoring? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Is there no problem with monitoring? After leaving the hospital, Shen Qingling immediately went to an abandoned factory in the suburbs. There is a room in the deepest part of the abandoned factory, and when you push the door in, there are more than 10 computers that have been reassembled. There were 3 or 2 people busy inside. When Shen Qingling came in, they all said hello. Ling Jie. Shen Qingling nodded and walked straight to the computer on the far left to sit down. Skilled typing on the keyboard. Rows of silver-green codes quickly appeared on the computer screen. In no time, 9 different surveillance videos appeared on the computer screen. This is the surveillance footage from the Shen family to the main road a month ago. Shen Qingling stared straight at the computer screen, not missing any frames. But no problem can be found from the monitoring. Even on the night she had her spring dream, she did not find any suspicious figure. Shen Qingling wrapped her hands around her chest and leaned against the swivel chair. The expression cannot be described as good-looking. Shen Qingling pondered silently, thinking through all the possibilities. But there is no clue at all. Shen Qingling angrily patted the table. Damn it! Which pig has arched my mother? Shen family. Shen Qingling didn't return to the Shen family until very late. As soon as I entered the door, I heard Shen Shihai's deep and angry voice. Shen Qingling. Get out of here. Shen Qingling changed her shoes and looked up to see Shen Shihai sitting on the sofa with his hands wrapped around his chest, his expression very ugly, described as his face as black as charcoal, without any problem. Song Yu sat leisurely next to Shen Shihai with a playful expression on her face. Shen Qingling walked slowly and sat down on the sofa. Stand up for me. Shen Shihai saw that Shen Qingling dared to sit down and shouted angrily at her. After what happened today, Shen Qingling was already very tired and didn't want to deal with her father and stepmother at all. So she didn't stand up. Dad, I'm very tired today. I'll sit and talk to you. Shen Shihai angrily raised a hand, almost slapping Shen Qingling's face. But when he saw the scar on Shen Qingling's face, his hand stopped 5 centimeters away from her face. Shen Shihai slowly clenched the palm he extended and withdrew it. Song Yu on the side saw that the slap did not fall on Shen Qingling's face, with a regretful expression on her face. It's almost there. Qingling. Who's the child in your belly? Shen Qingya stared at Shen Qingling with a resentful expression on his face. If I say I don't know, do you believe it? Shen Qingling looked straight at the angry Shen Qingya, with no previous cowardice on his face. There is still a hint of expectation in the eyes. I hope my father can trust her. I hope my father can comfort her. Expectations, you fart. If you go out and mess around, don't you know who the father of this bastard is? Shen Qingya's words were like a resounding blow. Shen Qingling's expectant father's appearance eventually turned into a bubble. In her heart, pieces were shattered one by one, eventually becoming debris, powder, and finally drifting away with the wind. Shen Qingling doesn't want to explain anything more. No matter what she says, her father won't believe her. Just like when Shen Qingya fell down when she was a child, but slandered and pushed her, and her father didn't believe her. No matter what you think, what I haven't done before is that I haven't done it before. I don't know how this happened. After Shen Qingling finished speaking, she stood up and went upstairs, returning to her room. Leave Shen Qingya standing behind her, pointing at her back and cursing. Rebel girl. Rebel girl. Seeing the two of them arguing, Song Yu stood up immediately, took Shen Qingya's arm, and comforted his chest, saying, Young man, it's normal to be young and energetic. It's normal to do something outrageous, Qingya. Don't be so angry. What should you do if you get angry and break your body? What should we do about this rebellious girl's shameless act of engagement with the Bai family? Shen Qingya picked up the cup from the coffee table and took a big gulp of water. The Bai family insisted on marrying Qingling, but what happened to Qingling? It affected the marriage alliance between the two families, and I must kill this rebellious girl. The veins around Shen Qingya's neck erupted and he slammed the water glass onto the ground. With a loud bang, the ground was shattered. Qingya. Qingling can't marry her anymore due to the status of the Bai family, but... Song Yu pretended to be mysterious and stopped, only to see Shen Qingya shift his attention to her before she spoke again. Our family still has Qingya. Qingling can't point it out, Qingya is a well-behaved and obedient child. Last time, the Bai family had already said that they would only marry Qingling. Shen Qingya thought that Song Yu would come up with some constructive suggestions, but it turned out to be a plan that had already passed, which made him restless again. It's different now. Today, Bai Shuning said in front of me that she wants to divorce and... Before Song Yu could finish speaking, Shen Qingya returned home from outside. With a blush and shyness on his face, he walked over and greeted Song Yu and Shen Qingya sitting on the sofa. Dad, Mom, I'm back. Song Yu's eyes swept over Shen Qingya and saw that she was walking aimlessly, with a noticeably different expression from before. He nodded in satisfaction. Qingya, come and sit over here. Song Yu patted the sofa next to her. Shen Qingya nodded and obediently walked over. As soon as she sat down, Song Yu could clearly see the blue and purple around Shen Qingya's neck, which was covered by her long hair. Quickly poured her a glass of water. Qingya, what did Bai Xiao say today? Shen Qingya heard Song Yu mention Bai Xiao and immediately turned his head to look at Shen Qingya. Bai Xiao said today that he will definitely tell Grandpa Bai to change his engagement with Shen Qingling to mine when he goes back. Shen Qingya held a water glass in both hands and spoke shyly. The joy on his face was completely uncontrollable. Really? Bai Xiaojin naively said that. Upon hearing this, Shen Qingya sat up straight and excitedly asked Shen Qingya again. Shen Qingya lowered her eyes and nodded shyly. Qingya, I'll just say that we Qingya is the most obedient and intelligent. If we can take Bai Shuning down so quickly, there's no need to worry about our engagement with the Bai family going bankrupt this time. Song Yu leaned against Shen Qingya's shoulder and spoke proudly. Elegant. She is truly my good daughter. She did a beautiful job. Shen Qingya hugged Song Yu and gave a thumbs up to Shen Qingya beside him. An uncontrollable joy emanated from his face. He never thought about what methods and means Shen Qingya used to obtain by Shuning's promise. In his eyes, interests are paramount. Even a daughter can be used as a bargaining chip for exchanging benefits. At this moment, he completely forgot that his other daughter was experiencing the impact of getting pregnant before marriage. The three of them hugged excitedly to celebrate. In sharp contrast to the lonely Shen Qingling upstairs. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Cannot be a mother again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Cannot be a mother again. Shen Qingling called Aunt Lu and asked with a heavy expression. Aunt Lu, do you remember a month ago, was there any abnormal noise in my room or anything wrong with me? Lu Shen carefully recalled and slowly spoke up after a while. A month ago, as usual, you went out early during the day and only came back at night. After returning, you had dinner and went back to your room to sleep. There was nothing wrong. By the way, you only wake up late for one day, and it takes me half a day to wake you up. Shen Qingling had already thought of what had happened that day and quickly asked. Did anything strange happen that night? I remember you fell asleep after drinking milk. The next day, Madam specifically instructed me not to disturb you. Nothing else, nothing more. Aunt Lu nervously held Shen Qingling's hand. She had already heard what Song Yu said to Shen Qingya, but she didn't believe it. Shen Qingling was someone she grew up watching from a young age. It's impossible to go out and fool around. Qingling, what's going on with the child in your stomach? Aunt Lu's expression of concern was completely different from the attitude of the couple downstairs. Shen Qingling pursed her lips. It was also the first time she had encountered such a thing. Completely inexperienced. Seeing Aunt Lu genuinely caring for her, the emotions accumulated over the day reached their peak at this moment. She couldn't help but look up at Aunt Lu with tears in her eyes. Aunt Lu, I don't know what's going on. I haven't even touched a man's hand. I have no memory of how she got pregnant. However, she was certain that there were absolutely no men who could approach her during the day. In recent years, whenever she has time, she will go to the studio she has established. In the studio, there are also reliable partners to rely on. So, only her sleeping time at night. Good child, Aunt Lu believes you, but don't be afraid. Aunt Lu will accompany you to the hospital tomorrow. Aunt Lu touched Shen Qingling's hair with heartache. Go to the hospital. Shen Qingling hung 2 lines of tears and looked up at Aunt Lu. Don't be afraid, Aunt Lu will always be with you. Aunt Lu thought Shen Qingling was afraid, so she spoke up with heartache to comfort her. Shen Qingling lowered her eyes and slowly stroked her lower abdomen with her hand. She has been a child from birth who is not loved by her parents. Although to outsiders, she has both parents and a younger sister. But in reality, her status is only slightly higher than that of the household servants. She, who had never experienced family happiness, felt a strange feeling for the first time as she touched the sudden child in her belly. The next day, Aunt Lu took a leave and specially accompanied Shen Qingling to the hospital. The two of them arrived at the obstetrics and gynecology department, and Aunt Lu went to register for Shen Qingling. It was soon Shen Qingling's turn to go in for consultation. Shen Qingling remained silent and had a complex expression on her face. Aunt Lu pursed her lips and expressed her thoughts directly to the doctor. The doctor looked up at the young Shen Qingling, with a hint of clarity in his eyes. Doctors have long been accustomed to this kind of thing. The doctor proficiently prescribed a few orders and asked Aunt Lu to take Shen Qingling for a few tests. Shen Qingling followed Aunt Lu numbly, completed all the preoperative examinations, and returned to the doctor who was seeing her. The doctor looked at several checklists and slowly furrowed his brow. As he looked at them, Aunt Lu's heart lifted up to her throat. Doctor, is there any problem with my daughter's examination? The doctor pursed his lips and pondered for a moment. Your daughter was born with a tubal malformation, and this pregnancy is also a 1 in a million chance. If it were to be aborted, she might never be able to be a mother again in her lifetime. As soon as the doctor finished speaking, Shen Qingling suddenly lifted her head. Do you mean, I can never be a mother again? The doctor was startled by Shen Qingling's suddenly raised face and stuttered, nodding. Medical science cannot be so absolute, but if you abort your child this time, your chances of getting pregnant in the future are only 1 in 10 million. Shen Qingling looked down at her lower abdomen and remained silent for a long time. Do you still want to fight? The doctor saw that the girl on the chair had not spoken and asked directly. At this moment, Shen Qingling stood up and pulled Aunt Lu out. No need. Aunt Lu sighed, but also respected Shen Qingling's decision. After all, this is a major event in life, and she cannot deprive Qingling of the right to be a mother. After Shen Qingling and Aunt Lu left, a woman wrapped in gauze and wearing sunglasses walked into the doctor's office. After entering, he slowly closed the door. Place a thick craft paper bag wrapped in something in front of the doctor. Dr. Sun, thank you for helping me with this favor. It's a small gesture of disrespect. The woman's voice was enchanting, and she slowly pushed the craft paper bag over. You're welcome, it should be. Dr. Sun, who had just consulted with Shen Qingling, looked at the thick paper bag of money and immediately reached out to take it. He opened the seal, roughly looked at the amount, and showed a very satisfied smile. He then put the paper bag into his briefcase that he carried with him. However, lady, why did you want me to tell the girl just now that if she were to have her child knocked out, she wouldn't be able to be a mother anymore? The doctor patted his stuffed bag and asked with some confusion. This child cannot have sex. The woman tightened her veil, murmured softly, and quickly left the hospital. Shen Qingling and Aunt Lu left the hospital and found a nearby park to sit in. Qingling, have you figured out how to live your days in the future? Aunt Lu frowned and sighed. Shen Qingling lowered her eyes and looked at her lower abdomen. Even now, she couldn't believe there was a child inside with half of her bloodline. After a while, she shook her head. I don't know, this thing happened too suddenly. After thinking for a while, Shen Qingling took a deep breath and looked up at Aunt Lu. The confusion in her eyes turned into determination. I will raise him, he is my only family now. Aunt Lu saw Shen Qingling so strong, tears welled up in her eyes. She hugged Shen Qingling and comforted her by patting her back. Her throat seemed to be blocked and she couldn't say anything. Why is this child's life so hard? Oh my goodness. Do you really want to see what you've done? With the company of Aunt Lu, Shen Qingling figured out her future path and tidied up her bad emotions. She looked up and said to Aunt Lu. Aunt Lu, let's go back. Upon seeing Shen Qingling regain her strength, Aunt Lu immediately responded, stood up, and took a taxi back to the Shen family with Shen Qingling. As soon as Shen Qingling entered the door, Shen Shihai, who was sitting on the sofa chatting and laughing with Shen Qingya, immediately pulled down his face and stopped looking at her. Shen Qingling took a deep breath and walked up to Shen Shihai. Dad, I want to move out and live. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Breaking the father-daughter relationship. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Breaking the father-daughter relationship. Upon hearing Shen Qingling's words, Shen Shihai immediately frowned and became furious. My Shen family can't accommodate you anymore, can they? They even want to move out. Shen Qingling looked up expressionlessly at this familiar yet unfamiliar father. Until now, he hasn't cared about her at all. You get rid of that bastard for me. Don't go out in the future, don't be laughed at by others when you go out. As soon as Shen Shihai finished speaking, Shen Qingling immediately spoke firmly. I want to give birth to him. What? A bastard from somewhere unknown. If you dare to give birth to him, I will sever the father-daughter relationship with you. Shen Shihai never expected that his daughter, who had always been obedient, would become so disobedient, and he was momentarily angry. Seeing Shen Qingling's insistence, Song Yu curled her lips upwards. I didn't expect Shen Qingling to be so successful. There's no need for her to start provoking. As soon as she saw that the heat was almost over, she immediately put on a face full of hatred and held on to Shen Qingya, saying to Shen Qingling. Qingling. Your father is also for your own good. Why is your child disobedient? You said you are young, and even if you get pregnant before marriage, you still have to give birth to him. How should the people in the capital arrange you behind the scenes? Where should we face the Shen family? Song Yu's words may sound to be for the good of Shen Qingling, but in reality, they are telling Shen Qingya that if she gives birth to this child, she will be thrown into the face of the Shen family. Shen Qingya is a person who values the face of his family very much. Upon hearing Song Yu's words, he became even more angry. He pointed to Shen Qingling's nose and said, Tomorrow, you'll go fight this bastard for me. I won't go, I have already decided. Since you don't allow me to have this child, I will move out and not disturb your eyes at home. Shen Qingling finished speaking and went straight up to the second floor. Regardless of Shen Qingya's hysterical roar behind her, she opened the door to the room on the second floor corner where she had lived for over 20 years. Actually, she doesn't have any luggage either. Her clothes were either disliked or worn by Shen Qingya, so she gave them to her as charity. Besides, she only has her own modified laptop here. Shen Qingling stood inside and glanced at her, feeling calm as she took her laptop and went downstairs. He said to Shen Qingya, who was glaring at her angrily. Dad, take care of yourself. Then he left the door. Shen Qingya's angry curses echoed from behind. If you dare to leave this door, I, Shen Qingya, won't recognize your daughter. Shen Qingling's footsteps didn't stop, he closed the door, and all sounds were cut off. In an instant, the whole world fell silent. Her heart felt an unprecedented ease. After Shen Qingling left the Shen family, she went to the house she bought in the suburbs. The house has just been delivered, but fortunately it has been finely decorated. Shen Qingling bought a mattress and a 4-piece set on the bed, which gave him a place to stay. She nestled in bed, looking out the window at the shining stars, with countless thoughts. I only have you left. Shen Qingling caressed her lower abdomen and murmured softly. The next day, Shen Qingling left early in the morning to purchase things needed for daily life. She took a deep breath in the morning sunshine. The air in the suburbs is sweeter than that in the city center. A new life has begun. Today is the most relaxed day for Shen Qingling in over 20 years. But when she went out shopping, although she deliberately wore a hat, she wanted her scars on her face not to scare others. But there were still passers-by pointing at her. Originally, Shen Qingling just thought that her face had caught the attention of others. Over the past 20 years, she has also become accustomed to it. But gradually, she felt something was wrong. Many passers-by looked at her phone and pointed at her, saying something inappropriate. Shen Qingling felt strange, but still didn't pay much attention. Until she went to the furniture store and just booked a bed and sofa. A middle-aged lady spat in front of her. If it weren't for her quick reaction, she would have spit on her face. Hatue. I can't stand this kind of reckless trash. With my fiancé, I'm still messing around outside. What the hell? After the middle-aged woman finished cursing, the young woman next to her quickly wanted to take her away. Mom! What did you say to such a person? Don't dirty your mouth. Shen Qingling frowned and realized that the matter was not simple. She quickly stepped forward and pulled the middle-aged woman. Tell me what you're talking about. What's going on? The middle-aged woman looked at her disdainfully, her face filled with disgust, and even took a photo of the clothes pulled by Shen Qingling. What did you do that you don't know yourself? The whole world knows you're ugly and cheap. Your private life is chaotic, and if I were you, I would have been knocked dead long ago." Upon hearing this, Shen Qingling's anger surged and he raised his hand to grab onto the middle-aged woman's collar. "You have the guts to say it again. What are you talking about? Your long mouth is used to slander others, so I don't mind sewing it for you." The middle-aged woman was startled by Shen Qingling's sudden action and instantly shouted like killing a pig. "Help, it's killing." The young woman next to the middle-aged woman also rushed forward to break open Shen Qingling's hand, which was gripping her mother's collar. Due to the loud noise on their side, many people were surrounded. More and more people recognized Shen Qingling. They all pointed at her. The voice of insults grew louder and louder. Shen Qingling was facing the big sun above her head, feeling dizzy and heavy. Suddenly, her ears tinkled, and her voice became increasingly inaudible when discussing her. The end came abruptly. At the moment she fainted to the ground. Shen family. Relatively more relaxed and enjoyable than Shen Qingling's side. The atmosphere in the Shen family is very heavy. Although Shen Qingya has always disliked his eldest daughter. But I couldn't bear it either. Suddenly, someone dared to rebel against him like this. He originally intended to send someone to forcibly pull Shen Qingling to the hospital for an abortion. But it was stopped by Song Yu. She wants to settle the stain on Shen Qingling, so that the Bai family will definitely not marry a single woman with children. On this day, Shen Qingya went to work at the company. There are only two people at home, Song Yu and Shen Qingya. Song Yu asked the kitchen maid to cut a plate of fruit platters and place them on the coffee table in the living room. She pulled over Shen Qingya and asked, "Did Shuning say when he will marry you?" Shen Qingya's face turned red in an instant, and she coquettishly said, "Mom, what are you talking about? Qingya, you look embarrassed. Sooner or later, you will get married, and Bai Shuning is a good choice." Song Yu smiled and gave Shen Qingya a bite of an apple. Brother Shuning said he had already told his grandfather that he needed to consider it. Shen Qingya spoke with a hint of shyness. Brother Shuning said, "If it's not me, I won't marry." Song Yu's smile instantly brightened, and her gaze towards Shen Qingya became even more gentle. "I knew that with my daughter's stunning appearance, no man could take it." Mom, Shen Qingya shyly leaned her head against Song Yu's shoulder. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Bai Shuning talks about marriage again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Bai Shuning talks about marriage again. Hospitals. Shen Qingling woke up leisurely. Wrinkled his brow and rubbed his head, looking at his hand holding the hanging bottle. At this moment, the nurse happened to come in for a ward round. Shen Qingling looked at the nurse and asked with some confusion. "Hello, may I ask how I am here? Just now, a kind-hearted person brought you here. You were just pregnant and had a moment of impatience. Coupled with some heat stroke, you fainted." The nurse saw that she had finished the bottle infusion and directly pulled out the needle for her. "All right, the hanging bottle is finished and you have nothing to do. You can be discharged soon. The kind-hearted person who brought you here has already paid your hospitalization expenses." The nurse finished speaking and turned around to leave. Shen Qingling quickly spoke up and stopped her. "Nurse, do you have the contact information of a kind-hearted person on your end?" The nurse happened to walk to the door and saw a man in a black suit passing by. She immediately turned her head and pointed to the man passing by the door, saying, "No, it's this gentleman who brought you here without leaving any contact information." The nurse finished speaking and left straight away. Shen Qingling immediately lifted the blanket and got out of bed, wanting to thank the kind-hearted person. She has always disliked owing favors. But the man in the black suit walks very fast. In the blink of an eye, I walked out of the hospital door. Shen Qingling just woke up and felt a bit weak, so she didn't catch up for a while. I only saw the man riding in a Mercedes-Benz sedan with a Beijing A88888 and roaring away. Shen Qingling sighed, and the favor can only be repaid when it is destined. Suddenly, she thought of something and quickly took out her phone. Sure enough, I don't know who actually posted about her pregnancy online. Also bought hot search. Originally, only the celebrities in the capital circle roast that she was ugly and eccentric. Now people all over the capital are complaining about her, even abusing her. She has become the target of criticism in the entire capital, the laughing stock of their leisure time. Hee hee. It's really ridiculous. Shen Qingling returned home from the hospital, took out his computer, and directly downloaded the hot search post. And tried to follow the internet cable to find out who was splashing dirty water on her back. But the other party's skills are actually on par with hers. She couldn't find any information at all. Shen Qingling angrily slammed the computer. Damn it. She hates it. Hating one's own skills is not impressive enough. It was soon over 8 months later. Shen Qingling's belly is already very big. With the support of Aunt Lu, Shen Qingling's life was very comfortable. The people of the Shen family have never looked for her. Just like she's not from the Shen family at all. Shen family. Bai Shuning once again visited the door. Shen Qingya thought that Bai Shuning came to propose marriage. Excited, he ran forward and grabbed Bai Shuning's hand. Brother Shuning. Why did you come? Are you trying to surprise me? Shen Qingya's face turned red and she looked at Bai Shuning with joy on her face. But Bai Shuning's face was a bit unattractive, and he took Shen Qingya's hand and said. Qingya sister, I'm sorry. Brother Shuning, what do you mean by this? Shen Qingya stared blankly at Bai Shuning, with a hint of bad omen in her heart. At this moment, Shen Qingya came down from upstairs and greeted Bai Shuning with a smile. Dear nephew, why did you come? Uncle, I'm here today to discuss marriage. Bai Shuning's face was gloomy, and there was no hint of joy in getting married. Shen Qingya and Song Yu thought that Bai Shuning was coming to propose marriage to Shen Qingya. Hurry up and ask him to sit down. Song Yu smiled and looked at Shen Qingya. Qingya, Shuning is going to come and propose marriage today. Why didn't you tell us? We are also ready. Shen Qingya frowned as she was about to speak, but was interrupted by Song Yu. Shuning, come and sit down quickly, don't stand. We'll be a family from now on, don't be polite. A few people sat on the sofa, and Song Yu smiled and spoke again. You and Qingya have such a good relationship, and we also see it in our eyes. Since you young couple are preparing to get married, as parents, we will send our blessings to you. We hope you will grow old together and play harmoniously in the future. Auntie, my feelings for Qingya are very sincere. I really want to marry her back home, but... Bai Shuning frowned as she had not finished speaking. Song Yu and Shen Qingya both heard that the art style was not right, and their hearts sank. Shen Qingya put away his smile and asked, but what? Does the virtuous nephew have any concerns? Let's all work together to solve them. Looking at Bai Shuning's indescribable expression, the 3 members of Shen Qingya's family were all very anxious. The 3 of them looked straight at Bai Shuning and listened to his next words. Uncle and aunt, my grandfather has always refused for me to marry a woman other than Shen Qingling, even if I tell him that Shen Qingling has been pregnant with another man's child without proper discipline. I really can't do anything about it. Bai Shuning gritted her teeth and finished speaking, then lowered her head. Brother Shuning. You said you would only marry me. Shen Qingya stood up with tears in her eyes. She can't accept this news at all. Qingya, I have no choice, I hope you can forgive me. Bai Shuning looked at Shen Qingya with a heart-wrenching expression on her face. Upon hearing this, Shen Qingya covered her face in great pain and ran back to her room, crying. Shen Qingya pondered for a moment before speaking up. Of course, our Shen family respects the decision of your Bai family very much. If Qingling does such a ridiculous thing, your Bai family will not be held accountable. As Qingling's father, I am very grateful to you. When do you think it would be better to set the wedding date on your end? Shihai. Song Yu looked at Shen Qingya incredulously, not expecting him to compromise so quickly. Shen Qingya glared at her with a very ugly expression. Song Yu knows that anything she says now is useless. Uncle, my grandfather insisted that I marry Qingling, and I also accepted it. But if I were to become the successor and accept the child of another man, it would be absolutely impossible, so. Bai Shuning looked at Shen Qingya and didn't say anything next. But after all these years of wandering society, Shen Qingya could immediately hear the meaning behind his words. My dear nephew, I understand what you mean. I will make this wicked woman kill that wicked seed as soon as possible. Bai Shuning nodded and stood up to bid farewell. Shen Qingya and Song Yu escorted him to the door, and after watching him leave, Song Yu immediately shouted. Qingya. Shuning and Qingya share the same heart, why marry Qingling over? Shen Qingya pinched his brow and spoke wearily. Didn't you understand what Bai Shuning said just now? It was Mr. Bai who believed that Qingling was his granddaughter. What's the use of our obstruction? Can. Song Yugong said a word, but was interrupted by Shen Qingya. Whether it's Qingya or Qingling marrying into the Bai family, our Shen family will all climb this big tree, and then we'll just need more compensation for Qingya. After Shen Qingya finished speaking, he dragged his tired footsteps upstairs. Leave Song Yu alone downstairs, feeling extremely angry. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. She is about to give birth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. She is about to give birth the next day. Shen Qingya sent his subordinates to investigate Shen Qingling's residence. Directly led someone to the door. Shen Qingling was very surprised to see his father suddenly bringing a group of people over early in the morning. Why did you come? I'm your father. I'm coming to see my daughter. Can't I come yet? Shen Qingya, with a stern face, directly led someone into Shen Qingling's house. He surveyed the simple decorations in the room and sneered. Is this where you and that little white face live? Dad, you're here today. What's up? Shen Qingling had a stern face and looked at this familiar yet unfamiliar father with caution. The young master of the Bai family doesn't mind what you have done. As long as you get rid of this child, he will agree to marry you into the house. Shen Qingya pulled a chair and sat down, looking up at his daughter. Not seen for several months, her bulging belly has made her feel sluggish and swollen. Impossible. I'm almost giving birth and it's impossible to have it aborted. The hospital won't agree either. Shen Qingling didn't expect that Shen Qingya came to find her today for this reason. Is the Bai family having a brain bubble? She was already pregnant with another man's child, and surprisingly, she was willing to marry her. Is there any serious illness? After you are born, I will give this child away, and you have the right to consider it as non-existent. Shen Qingya had a serious expression on his face and his words were very heartless. Dad. I called you Dad to show respect, but you don't have the right to do that. Shen Qingling roared hysterically, if at first she kept this child because she couldn't conceive again after knocking him out. So now she and this child have been together in the same body for several months, feeling fetal movements every day, and have already developed feelings. It's impossible for her to give him away. Don't even think about it. I'm your father, that's how it's settled. After Shen Qingya finished speaking, he signaled to his subordinates and asked them to take Shen Qingling away. Qingling, you will be under my watchful eye for the next period of time until you give birth to a child and marry into the Bai family. Shen Qingling looked at the sturdy men approaching her and slowly retreated towards the back door in despair. Don't come over. Shen Qingya, you don't have the right to do this. We have severed our father-daughter relationship. You are kidnapping. At this moment, Shen Qingling only felt a pain in her stomach and a surge of heat flowing between her legs. Her eyes darkened with impatience, and she fainted directly. The last scene before my eyes was frozen in Shen Qingling's cold and ruthless gaze. 6 years later. Country. 6 or 6. Get out of here. How could my computer be like this? A slender woman with fair eyes and teeth, fair skin, and outstanding temperament is currently very irritable, searching room by room for the culprit who dismantled her computer. When she opened the baby room that was no longer in use, she saw a small but leaking out of the tent and trembling. Still muttering. Mommy can't see me, can't see me. Little bear. Bless me. Don't be discovered by mommy. Otherwise, I will die. Shen Qingling couldn't help but burst out laughing as she looked at her lovely son. Little bear, did you hear anything? Ah. It can't be haunted, can it? The little Shen Lulu held the little bear and hid it under the blanket, trembling with fear. Shen Qingling on the side, seeing the situation, deliberately pinched her throat and made some strange noises. Xiaolu, I'm coming to catch you. Xiaolu, where are you? Shen Lulu, who was hiding in the tent and covered in a blanket, was so scared that he trembled all over. He lifted the blanket and, holding the little bear, ran out, shouting as he ran. Mommy. Haunted. Mommy. Come and save Lulu. Shen Lulu didn't run 2 steps before hitting Shen Qingling's arms. Shen Lulu, who smelled the familiar smell, was still in shock. He hugged Shen Qingling's thigh and began to wipe away his tears. Mommy. There's a little ghost coming to catch me. Hug. Hug me. Shen Lulu tightly closed his eyes and dared not open them, afraid of seeing Ah Piao in the movie as soon as he opened his eyes. Shen Qingling bent down to pick up Shen Lulu, wiping away the tears and snot from his face. Alright, it was mommy who scared you earlier. Where is there a ghost in the world? Shen Lulu listened and gradually stopped crying. I tentatively opened one eye and saw my beautiful mother playfully looking at him, blushing. If you break free, you will come down. Shen Qingling smiled and put him down. Lulu was not afraid just now. Lulu is. The small Shen Lulu's big eyes rolled around, paused for a moment, and then defended himself by saying. Lulu pretended to drop beads just now because he was afraid of mom farting. After Shen Lulu finished speaking, his fair and tender face turned red, like cooked shrimp. Obviously, for this reason, Shen Lulu himself felt inferior. Is that right? Shen Qingling wrapped her hands around her chest and watched Shen Lulu's performance with ease. Since that's the case, let's talk about my computer. What's wrong with my computer? Mommy, don't be angry. I just want to see if I can assemble a real computer. Usually, mommy only gives me the lowest configuration of computers to play with. Mommy, forgive me, mommy. Shen Lulu hugged Shen Qingling's thighs and looked up at his beautiful mother with 2 flickering big eyes in tears. Shen Qingling had always been the most intolerant of Shen Lulu's gentle attack, and her anger immediately dissipated by a large part. Okay, for the sake of what you want to learn, mom will forgive you this time, but if there is another time without mom's permission, just hit the bullshit of 66 foot. Shen Lulu learned the swearing gesture from somewhere and extended 2 short fingers of soft, sticky, and tender flesh on his head. It looks more silly and cute, more silly and cute. Shen Qingling smiled and rubbed his head, then pulled him out of the room. Where can't a computer be assembled? Mommy teaches you. Shen Lulu didn't get angry with his mother anymore when he saw her. Immediately ran to that spot and sat on the ground next to the computer parts. Pointing to several parts he had never seen before, he put away his soft and cute expression and asked seriously. Mommy, that's it. I haven't seen it on any other computer before. Shen Qingling crouched down and patiently answered Shen Lulu. Just as she explained it to him, she stood up. The phone in my pocket rang. Shen Qingling took out her phone and immediately clicked on the answer button. She then walked to the refrigerator and took out a bottle of cold mineral water. Hello. Laika, your place of residence is no longer safe. I don't know where the El Royal family got your message and knows your address. They will be arriving at your place soon. The voice on the other end of the phone was very anxious, as if speaking slowly would lead to unexpected accidents. Shen Qingling's expression stiffened. Okay, I got it. End of this chapter.